that how important is it for young girls to have a good relationship with have a healthy relationship, should I say, with a good role model of a father? How important do you feel it is?
Oh, it's essential. Because I can just say for myself from before when I was like angry at him and I had all those other issues, what happens is if you have unresolved issues with your dad, you try to resolve them in your relationship with the men that you're dating, and that don't never work.
Mm.
It just doesn't work. Because you're like, I don't need my daddy. I ain't there, da, da, da. I'm going to get this man. And then you end up running behind some little regular man who wasn't worth you in the first place because
Mm.
you're trying to solve it here. And that man didn't even know, like the boy that I was doing, he didn't even know the extent to which I had these other issues. And half the time he'd be like, "No, why are you acting crazy?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." But so it is important, but I also say this, you don't have to have your birth daddy for that. It
Mm.
could be an uncle. It could be a papa. It could be a godfather. You find somebody, it could be your best friend's dad who treats her and the mama wrong. Right. Just don't make it be your boyfriend or your husband because
Yeah.
that's not gonna work. So that's what I would say.
Wow. That's powerful, and I appreciate it because I think one of the things I think I really admire about you is your vulnerability and your ability to be able to be free to discuss these things. Because I think
Mhm.
a lot of people are very hesitant to speak on such issues. But I don't think
Uh-huh.
people realize how freeing it can be when you're able to talk about these particular things.
It
What
is.
gives you that ability to be vulnerable and transparent with, well, the whole world in that sense?
Good question. I think it's because I really like me. Like I like myself overall. I'm not perfect. Nobody
Mm.
is. But I feel like I've done the work to get myself to a place where even my flaws I'm okay with.
Mm.
Like I'll tell a guy who's interested in me, like, hey, I know what's like. There's something wrong with everyone, right? And I feel like I have a general idea of what's wrong with me. My biggest thing is I'm late, and solution for
Amen.
that is lie to me about what time things start. I'm messy, but I have a housekeeper. So those things. You know, Sometimes I'm not so good at asking for what I want because I'm usually the giver and I'm usually the supporter of everyone else. So
Mm.
I need someone to create a comfortable space where I can ask for exactly what I want instead of like being a brat and like complaining about not getting what it is that I want.
Mm.
Um, so I guess the bottom line is I think what helps me be more vulnerable and an open book was two things. One, liking where I'm at and realizing something's wrong with everyone, right? So I'm
Mm.
not ashamed of the things that I've been through, that I've overcome. But secondly, honestly, it's one of the benefits of growing up with a dad that didn't like you. Because
Mm.
I grew up knowing that, like, hey, if the man who made me doesn't like me, throughout your life, no matter what you do, there are people that don't like you. But as
Mm.
long as you're kind, as long as you are operating with kindness and with integrity and you're doing what you believe to be the right thing, then stand by that and do it. Because somebody's going to always complain, hell, people didn't like Jesus. So why do you think everybody going to like you? So when I auditioned for this, I remember
Mm.
in my final audition, they asked me, well, how would you feel about being the villain? And I'm like, villain? Why would I be a villain? I'm like, I'm nice, I'm kind, like, da 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 da. And then I was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, but all
Oh,
I
hold
know
on.
is,
They asked you to be a villain. Wait, hold on.
no, 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 not to be one. They said, how would you feel about being a villain?
Oh,
And I was
okay.
confused. My slow butt
Listen, you would.
wasn't realizing what they meant. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, but I was just thinking, how can I be a villain? Like, I'm so within my circle of people, I'm so like loved and whatever. And so, but then I thought about it and I was like, well, shit, I've been a villain my whole goddamn life.
Mm.
According to my dad, he didn't like me. I talked too much. I was to this, to that, to everything. So I was like, well, I'm used to it. I guess I've always been a villain. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm used to people having to complain about what I do. What's new?
Mm.
I just didn't know it would look like this.
I mean, and you said something which was really interesting. You said about obviously needing a space to be comfortable,
Yeah.
to be able to ask for what you need. Did that contribute towards the way that you spoke with Edwin by the pool in episode 8? Because that conversation where you and Edwin are talking, he's talking about his father and the fact that he doesn't mind if his father wasn't there necessarily, and you asked him,
Which
does
was
that contribute?
bull.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
You ask them, does that contribute towards you not being able to ask for what you need and stuff like that for help? Is that why
Mm-hmm.
you asked that? Because you've come from a place of understanding
Absolutely.
that area?
Yeah, I was empathetic to his
Mm,
situation. In the way that it was chopped, it didn't show that. And I'll say it wasn't. I'm not going to say this is one of those scenes that was just wholeheartedly inaccurate. Okay, because I knew when I was asking him that question that the moment I said, "I don't believe you" or whatever I said, I triggered him.
mm,
And so that did happen, but I wasn't pop, 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 pop. I wasn't asking him questions like that. They cut that to look like that. But for him, when I said, I said that's hard to believe. I said,
mm,
it's hard to believe anybody could be okay with their daddy living up the street and never seeing them. But what he did say was he had issues with his mother because his mom was never there, and therefore he had to be a large caretaker within his household. And so that kind of triggered me because I'm like, not again, the black woman's fault. Okay, he was not saying that. He was
mm.
not saying that. But I was
But
just
you
thinking
felt
to myself, to one point, I'm like, wait a minute. Your daddy get off scot free up the street. Mama is here, but not here enough. Well, hell, if this
mm,
motherfucker would have helped more, she could have been home more. But
that's true.
that ain't my business.
That's true.
That ain't my business.
But that is a
Yeah.
general topic as well, though. That is something that does happen a
If
lot.
daddy would have been here and participating, mama wouldn't have had to work 2, 3, 5, 50, 11 jobs.
Mm,
But that's not my animosity towards him.
mm,
I think it's just a sad situation.
mm.
Also, fun fact, y'all know that conversation happened episode 3.